Hello and welcome to another edition of Florida Sportsman Action Spotter Podcast. Florida Sportsman's Podcast is where we take a trip. Now, our first trip is going to be out to Paradise, Nosara Paradise Fishing, because I just got back from there, and man, did we clobber the fish. Then we're going to hit the northeast corner of the state, work our way down the east coast, up the west coast, out the Panhandle, and find out exactly what's going on. The mullet run has begun. It is roaring on the east coast, particularly in the northeast. We're going to get the word on just where they are. All right, let's get our little trip started with what used to be a fantasy for me, but all came true last week. I am going back to Nosara Paradise Rentals. Craig, how are you?
I'm good, Captain Ricky. Real good, buddy.
Buddy, I tell you what, you and I have caught a few fish over the years. You agree with that?
Oh, absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
You gave me a sight from your place that I will never get to see again, and a true offshore fisherman will understand just how much this means. Craigie, I was fishing on one of your boats, the Harvester with Captain Alex. We pulled up to something we found floating on the surface, and 4 mahi swam out from under it. Craigie, they were all 45 to 55.
Jurassic Park down there, brother.
I've
really
never
is.
seen anything like that in my life. But
Yeah, I got there Wednesday. I fished Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Thursday, I ran 45 miles offshore trying to find good water.
woo!
When that full moon came through Monday, it changed everything, and not for the good. We stayed inshore the second day and fished for roosters. Did pretty good. Got a 48.
I saw
Lost
that.
Lost about a 30 at the boat. Had a nice big old cabera come up. I mean, a real nice one. It cut me off on the reef, but, they had a few good shots other than that, too.
How about that cabera my partner David Borges caught? That was a fine one.
That's a real nice one, but that rooster's even better.
Yeah, that was a big old rooster. And, Craig, I got to tell you, my son catching a 300-pound marlin was one of the absolute highlights of my life. I mean, it was just...
It'll ruin you.
Oh, it was
It'll
just so
ruin you.
fantastic. Just so
It ruined me
fantastic.
years ago. It really did.
Now, I was stunned. I was stunned when you told me the red tide was in there this week. Is that common for you over there? I didn't know you ever got red tide. I thought that was a Gulf of Mexico thing.
Yeah, and everybody thinks red tide's stagnant water. That's not necessarily true, at least in our area. It's just when those heavy rains came on the full moon, which they always do in August, it just washed a lot of water out. And it had pockets of decent water, but the Saturday we went 51 miles out, still couldn't find good water. We went in, fished for caberas and roosters. And missed a few, didn't get anything good, but, it was kind of late when we got there. So, but, we made a try at it. That's for us, 51 miles out. That's the longest, that's furthest offshore I've ever been.
Yeah, down there. Yeah, I know it. Up here, it's a half a day. Down there, it's a major run.
I was telling my guys, I said, it's about 2/3 of what we normally fish, but it's a little bumpy. It was 3 to 5, but, that big old panga just ate it up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I got a whole new appreciation for pangas there. And let me tell you what makes a good charter boat captain, all right? We have found this thing floating. It is late in the day, so the first thing Alex says to us is, you guys okay with staying later? Because we're not going to fish this. Well, of course, yeah. I mean, we're okay with staying later. So we stay on it about an hour and a half. We catch a big blue, and we get ready to. And Alex says, "Guys, I hate to do this, but we gotta go." Well, by then it's like 5:30. I mean, it's running really late. So I said, "Alex, Cap, don't worry about it. Let's go." So immediately, your mate Wilson starts casting the bait spoon. And he catches another little bonita. And I'm like, Cap, I'm confused. What are we doing? He said, well, it'd take us 10 minutes to get ready to get home. He said, we're not going to waste that time. And I'll be darned if he didn't sew on that bonita and fire it right out. And it swam around for 10 minutes. It didn't get bitten, but that is somebody that's still got the fire in their belly.
They really do. All my guys do. I tell people they got their family, their Christian faith, and fishing.
That's right.
Nothing else in their life. And they have that burning desire. I mean, there's months that they'll fish every single day.
Yeah, that's hard.
And that's pretty good stamina. I don't know that I could do that, but they do it, and they'll do it for 9 months straight. William, in nine months and a week, fished 296 trips.
Good gracious.
Now,
Man.
you do the math on that, okay? There's not too many days off. And at the end of that year when we were talking, I go, William, I just don't think you can fish 296 trips in a year. And he goes, no, I want to fish more than that. I'd like to fish about 315. I'm like, you're crazy,
Yeah.
But we got all the boats out of the water now and doing all our maintenance. And it's going to take us till the end of October to get all the maintenance done anyway. But we're going to get it done.
All right, I checked before I let you go. I checked my 6 Visa cards, and I have a combined availability left of $113. Can that reserve me the week before the full moon next year?
Are you sure, Ricky? Your credit's good for class.
Okay, brother. Thank you so much, Craigie. We appreciate it. And let me tell you something. All credit to you, and congratulations on your wonderful staff down there. You could not have picked better people.
I know. I'm really lucky. I'm blessed
really
in many ways, brother.
Yep.
Many ways.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Thank you, Ricky.
All right, I appreciate it. Our thanks to Craig Sutton. Craig's Action Spotter podcast, by the way, is brought to you this week and every week by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Shimano, bringing people and nature together. Tournament Master Chum, it's the best chum on earth. Nosara Paradise Rentals, your dream billfish destination. D.O.A. Lures, the unfair advantage, and Young Boats. You want the finest in flats bay and offshore hybrids? You need to check out youngboats.com. Let's get our trip around Florida started up in the northeast corner with Captain David Voorhees. David, I hear there's mullet on the move.
The mullet are moving, buddy. They're headed out. They're heading south, and that's always good news. The tarpon fishermen love this time of the year. I've been telling guys this is one of the best times of the years to try to go out and target your tarpon. When these mullets start to exit the inlets, man, these tarpon will stack up and start going crazy on them. It's that time of year. I mean, I was expecting, I didn't think the mullet run would happen. I thought it was going to be a little late, but right on time it's happening. And so, a couple of good things. Of course, with the mullet run, there's going to be a number of opportunities to catch things, but the big bull reds are in now to spawn. So, a lot of the guys are, this time of year is when they want to come in and get those big bull reds that come into the river. And so there's a couple of good things for some big inshore fishing this time of year right now.
David, I've always wondered, I've thought that the first northeaster in the start of the fall triggered the mullet run. But we haven't had a northeaster. You got any idea what calls them out and tells them it's time to go?
I don't know. Everything is we tend to think of fishing is based on a lunar cycle, but actually there's sometimes more to do with the diurnal cycle that we don't understand, and we don't really keep track of that. But they know when summer's coming to an end and fall's just around the corner. So I mean, it's just not the fish. There's a lot of other animals that respond to this type of stuff, and I think a lot of times it's more to do with the amount of sunlight. That's one of the things that change. We don't realize it, but as the year goes through, we get different amounts of sunlight, and that's called the diurnal clock, and that's something we don't ever look at when it comes to fishing, but I think it plays a bigger role than we think.
It sounds like it.
In situations like this.
Now, David, I've seen a lot of reds in shallow water from my kayak this week, but it's been mighty tough to get them to bite. Have you seen the same thing?
I have. It's been, I talked to a lot of guys who fished this week and struggled on the low water. so I decided to not give it a shot, to go on the high water, and ended up doing pretty good. I was actually, wasn't quite sure what was going to happen, but we ended up with some pretty good fish. We found some big reds on some of these ledges, and on these high tides, I like right around that swing, right when it goes right at the end of the high tide, and when it just first starts to pull out. Usually that first drop at the high tide, we usually get a pretty good bite. And I know it sounds like I'm beating a dead horse up here in Northeast Florida when all we talk about is tide, but a lot of people down in South Florida, they just don't realize how big of a factor it is to us. Or on the Gulf Coast, they don't realize how big of a factor until, they come up here and actually fish Northeast Florida, and they just can't believe how much water moves through these inlets on these tides. It's unbelievable.
Oh, it's dramatic. There's no question about that. I'll never forget moving down here from Wisconsin, and when I was 8 years old for my 8th birthday. And David, we bought a house on the river, and we're so excited. And we spent our first night in the house, and it was the real estate agent didn't teach us anything about tides. And my dad got up the next morning, and the river was dry, and he about flipped. We had no idea that there was anything like a tide like that down here.
Yeah, it's quite a bit. It's quite a bit. But, we had a pretty good day this week. We had some good days, not just the big reds. We're seeing lots of flounder. We had 4 or 5 the other day. Nothing really big. But, this year, I have to say, the flounder, even though we've seen a lot of little ones, a lot of small ones, it's promising to me. I think this year I'm sort of pleased for a couple of reasons with the flounder situation. I don't think the giggers got out as much this year because of the muddy water. I don't think the giggers were quite as successful, and I'm one of those guys who feel like the commercial giggers are one of the reasons why we don't see the flounder population like we used to. Now, the trout, on the other hand, several guys were all saying it just wasn't a good year for trout this year. Just didn't really happen. Not really seeing the big trout. Some guys think, this time of year they'll be up in the river, way up the river. But I'm just not seeing it. I'm not hearing a lot about the trout. So it's been a poor year for the trout. It's been a pretty good year for flounder, and it's just been an outstanding year for the redfish this year. And
don't forget the mangrove snapper. It's been outstanding.
And
for
that has been a banner year for the mangrove snappers. And I'm still, some of the spots I go to, I'm like, well, I think I've pulled all the big ones off of here, so we're probably not going to get a big one. And lo and behold, I throw in there and guy pulls up a 14, 15-inch mangrove. So, there's it's just unbelievable how many there are around here. But I think right now, we're coming in, summer's just about over. We're coming into September. We'll start seeing some good flood tides coming up soon, some good fly fishing. Hopefully some of this rain will start to let off. But we just hit that transition. This is a transition period we're in right now, and we talk about these. And Northeast Florida, we experience 4 really good seasons. We have winter, spring, summer, and fall. And one of the things I've talked about in seminars in the past is, when you come to Northeast Florida to fish, you got to fish different ways at different times of the year. And now we've hit that transition period. So things are going to change for anglers. They've got to adapt. They got to change some things. But this is right now, I'm telling you, is a really good time to do it.
That was a great report. Thank you so much. And I sure hope we get to talk to you again next week. Our thanks to David Borges for a great Northeast Florida report. Now we're going to hop on down to Stewart. Jim Ross is tied up at a boat show, and check in with Captain John Earhart. John, how are you?
I'm good, Rick. Glad to be here as always.
Good. Glad to have you, my boy. Tell me about fishing in Stewart, Florida this week.
Fishing this week's been pretty consistent. I would expect that for August. Sail fishing's kind of starting to taper off, but we're still catching a few here and there. you can expect to catch 3 or 4 if you're putting a full day in. If you get right on top of them, you might still catch 6 or 11 fish, but it's going to start to slow down a little bit. That summertime epic sail fishing that we got to experience for pretty much all summer, it's going to start winding down. So if you're going to get on them, now's the time to do it, because this is the very tail end of it. And that's 60 to 90 feet. Some days we're getting them out as deep as 150, but it seems like they're a little bit shallower right now. You want to fish around those schools of sardines, and definitely bring some wire, because you're going to have to deal with some kingfish and bonitas while you're trying to target sailfish in those shallower depths.
I got to ask you, John, and I've fished down there for a few years in the summer. And everything's timing. I might have just hit it right, but I feel like this is the best summer down there I've ever seen myself.
Yeah, it's been a really good summer. I've seen better, but it's definitely up there as one of the better summers in my career as far as like consistency all summer long.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So Stewart's just an amazing place to catch sailfish in the summer. It's just the secret is out. So it's no longer a secret. But there's been a few nice mahi mixed in too. Most of the mahi that are getting caught right now are going to be out in the deeper water. 150 feet or deeper. We do get those random 20-pound dolphins that do occasionally swim by in 50, 60 feet of water. But if you want consistent mahi action, definitely go out as far as you can in the summer. The deeper you go, the more likely you are to catch limits of them.
Yep. I certainly believe that. How about what's going on inshore? Has the mullet run gotten there yet?
We're starting to see trace amounts of mullet. It's not good yet. Most of those fish are a little bit further north in Sebastian. We got a lot of tarpon on the beach further north. As soon as we start getting a little more mullet activity in Stewart, I'm going to expect some phenomenal tarpon fishing. And the snook fishing just has been steady all summer long. We're still getting snook over 40 inches. I'm catching a lot of slot-sized fish when I'm using smaller baits like pilchards, pinfish, croakers. And once the mullet run starts, I'm going to switch over and be exclusively using mullet. And that's typically the end of August, first part of September and October. It's full-blown mullet run, and I look forward to that time of year every year in Stewart for inshore fishing.
Yeah, John, I got to tell you, it's full on here. So they're within a couple 100 miles of you anyway. They're going to be there soon.
Another couple weeks, man, and I'm going to be hammering on them.
Yep. I don't doubt it. It'll be fun for everybody. Hey, John, that's a great report, and thanks so much for it. And please tell me we can check in with you next week.
Yes, sir. I'll talk to you next week and give you a report then.
Looking forward to it. Captain John Earhart from Stewart, Florida. Let's hear a word from Shimano before we move on further south. Funkin' Wagnalls defines symmetry as similar parts combined in perfect balance. Shimano and Strike Zone defines symmetry as a perfect spinning combo for whatever your target is this spring. You can't beat the balance and performance of the Shimano Symmetry spinners for freshwater and inshore saltwater fishing. Outfits like Symmetry are the reason for shopping at Strike Zone. Not only are the Shimano Symmetry spinners the perfect balance between rod and reel, they're also on sale for $99. One of the biggest mistakes most new anglers make is fishing outfits that are out of balance. If you try to balance your own Shimano outfits, you can almost never get the best out of your cast or really put the maximum pressure on a sea monster offshore. The symmetry between Strike Zone and Shimano is the perfect balance for all your fishing needs. Well, you know what that means. It's time to pull on south and find out what's going on in Miami from the mayor of South Beach himself, Captain Alan Sherman. Captain Alan, how are you?
I'm doing fine, Rick, and yourself?
Whew, buddy, I don't know about you, but I'm praying for those people in the Gulf, but I'm glad that thing went over there instead of coming up our coast.
Yeah, I got you. It's not looking so good, but hopefully they'll all make it out, and the dams that they put in, all those things that they did many years ago will work for them. Keep our fingers crossed.
You got it, Cap. Tell me how your fishing's been this week.
Well, it's been up and down mostly because, especially on the offshore side, we've had some wind all week. Some of it from that storm, and other times, you get two weather systems close to one another, and it just kicks up the wind and the seas in between them, and that's what we've had here in Miami. But offshore fishing's been okay. There were, we just came off a full moon, so we had some wahoo over the weekend, and the guys were catching them from just to the outer edges of the outside reef, out to any current rip that was within, say, 100 feet to 300 feet of water. And they were some decent ones, like 20 pounders, catching them trolling using, those sea witches and bonita strips.
Right.
So that's something pretty cool because you only get a couple opportunities at the Wahoo each month. Usually it's around a full moon or a new moon. Otherwise it's hit and miss with them. But there's been a really good kingfish bite. Hopefully that'll hold up. You don't expect it, in late August or even early September. But the drift boats did really well on them this past week, fishing the 10 to 12 pound range. So, and those fish are being caught in, say, 120 to 140 feet of water. Some are being caught on vertical jigs. Others are being caught on ballyhoo, fresh ballyhoo or Spanish sardines, hooked to what we call a 3-hook rig, where you take 3/5 short shank hooks and you open the eyes and connect them, and then put that bait from the bill of the bait all the way to the tail, so that the whole bait is connected to a hook. And then, they make that bait kind of straight so it doesn't spin, and it's really effective on these kingfish. They've also been catching a lot of bonitas. There's a few blackfin tunas, only a sailfish or two, and hardly any really. And then the dolphin fishing has been better. With some wind that we've had, we've got some fish that pushed in a little closer. But I talked to a guy the other day who's a sword fisherman, commercial, and it's funny because he actually divulged some information. The commercial guys, they like to hold on to that stuff. But he slipped, and he told me something I thought was kind of interesting. Most of the guys that go out dolphin fishing are going to target the dolphin inside of, say, 1,200 feet of water.
Right.
Not many of them are going to go out to 1,800 or deeper looking for dolphins. Just burn too much gas, and if you don't find anything, so it's a long day. But the sword fishermen, they're out there almost every day in that depth. That far offshore, targeting these swordfish during the daytime near the bottom. Well, they've been killing the dolphin. Those dolphin schools have been coming through way offshore, and while they're making their drifts for the swordfish, big schools of dolphin have been showing up, and they've been catching them as well. And they're getting some 10, 12 pounders, a few bigger fish that the average guy would never even know was there because they didn't go that far offshore. Not saying that that's what you should do, but if you're not catching them inside, very possible that you're missing them because they're way offshore.
Cap, I appreciate it as always. Please tell me we can check in with you next week.
Look forward to it, Rick.
Thank you, Alan. Our thanks to Alan Sherman for a great Miami report. Boy, fishing gets tough down there in the summertime. I know those boys are ready for fall. Let's hop over to 10,000 Islands and find out if Steve Dahl's ready for a little cool breeze to start his way. You there, Steve?
Oh, I am.
Yeah, I thought you would be.
Ooh, it is probably the longest August I've ever had as far as heat. It has been something else.
Yep.
But, it's, as we kind of touch base last week, as much as I'm waiting for my, my favorite month, October, we're still we're in that weird pattern. We have an October pattern going on right now all throughout the 10,000 Islands as it relates to redfish, where the fish are still stacked up on the outside islands. And, the bait's everywhere. It's on the outside island, so there you go. That's why the fish are there. So you want to either be throwing, 3-inch pilchards or something that looks like it. It's just that simple. Don't overthink this. I actually prefer to throw artificials, when they're kind of concentrated like that, and that way I can just efficiently work the area kind of quickly, especially if you got 2-3 guys on the boat. Change it up, try to throw different things, and you're gonna figure them out really fast, and you just make a big long milk run of similar spots like that.
So you're it's fine to throw anything as long as it looks like a 2 to 3 inch pilchard. Huh?
It's really that simple. I would love to tell you, it's harder than that, but it's really that simple. Once you get them kind of cued in on, where they're at as it relates to the tide. And obviously on the lower tides, they're going to be a little bit off those islands, those outside islands and shoals, and even oyster bars that extend a little bit farther out from the islands. They're going to be kind of way off that stuff. And then as the tide moves in, they're going to move up to that structure and just keep moving up as the tide goes in. So understanding where you're at within the region, we probably have, we have a huge region. So, it could be, from one outside island to the other, if you're going to make a full day of it, it could be an hour and a half tidal swing. So that's a lot of time to kind of figure out. So you need to kind of plot your strategy a little bit. But honestly, Rick, it's that simple. Find something, looks like a bait fish that's 3 inches long, and you're going to catch them.
Hey, there's mullet headed your way. They've left North Florida, and they're headed your way. They'll be there in no time. I think
I'm liking it.
I think I figured out a way to get you to vote for me for president.
Go. What's
okay,
that?
You ready? I mean, all of our politicians can make promises they can't keep, right? So
yeah.
All
Yep.
right, when I'm president, no July, no August, 2 Octobers, 2 Mays.
Oh, I like this.
How's that? We have May 1 and May 2, and then October 1 and October 2, and no July and no August. Can we do that?
Not only can we do that, I'll be your campaign man.
Man, I'd love that. I never get enough May. I never get enough October. Thank you, Cap. We appreciate it as always.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Captain Steve Dahl.
You know what Yamaha Outboards love? The genuine formula and consistency of Yamalu marine engine oils. Outboards are subjected to punishing conditions like high loads, salt, and humidity, a mix that automotive oils can't handle. Yamalu full synthetic and marine performance formulas are certified to protect against friction and corrosion for reliable performance every time. Find Yamalu marine oils at your nearest Yamaha Outboard dealer. Locate them at yamahaaoutboards.com/dealers. Yamaha, reliability starts here.
Hey, Raj, being consistent is the mark of a quality product. If you've been Florida's #1 chum for over 10 years, there's got to be a reason.
For 10 years, Tournament Master Chum has lived up to his name. That's why more tournament pros insist on Tournament Master than any other chum. It's the only chum with menhaden milk mixed right in. That means it gets the scent out faster and deeper than any other brand of chum. It comes in a grind size for every species from kingfish to catching bait. Your fishing time is way too precious to use second-rate chum. Bring the action to you by insisting on Tournament Master Chum. It's worth every penny.
When you're ready for the finest in custom-made flat spay or inshore-offshore hybrids, you are ready to meet the Young family in Inglis, Florida. For over 21 years, the Young family has built custom boats one at a time for every type of fishing. Nothing can sneak up on a flat quite like the Gulf Shore flats boats, and I've never fished a better hybrid than the Young 24s and 27s. Rob Young is a naval architect who takes tremendous pride in each and every build for each and every customer that wants their boat custom built exactly the way they want it. Is it time for you to move up? Are you ready to own the finest boat built? Then you need to visit the Young Boat facility in Inglis, Florida, or check them out online at youngboats.com. Our thanks to Steve Dahl for a great 10,000 Islands report. Now we're going to move up the coast just a little ways and check in with our buddy Greg Stamper. Greg, how are you?
I'm doing very well, Rick.
Good. I'm pleased to hear that. Tell me what's going on with your fishing.
Well, the back bay bite has been unbelievable this entire week. We had a lot of overcast early in the mornings, which really helped out. Our water temperature really dropped a lot. It got down to almost 87 degrees, Rick.
Okay. That's not real cool, by the way.
No, it is not. But overcast does help us, and fishing early definitely is the way to go. We've caught a lot of tarpon this week. Those juvenile tarpon continue to be all outstanding. And this week we've caught a lot of fish that were 30 to 40 pounds. So we're starting to move into an area that's not really juveniles, but I'll take it either way. The cool part is there's a lot of redfish that are swimming around with these tarpon, which is a little bit different than what I'm normally used to. These reds are way out in the open. They're not along the shorelines where they should be, but they're big, and we're catching a lot of them. I'd say this week, while fishing for tarpon, I probably caught a dozen or so.
Now, Greg, are you seeing them, or is the water too deep for you to see them?
No, sir, we're not seeing anything.
Okay.
The only thing that we're doing is free-lining either pinfish or whitebait through the areas where the tarpon are. A lot of times we're on corks as well, and these redfish are just mixed in along with jack crevalle, and then of course ladyfish and jack.
That's some fine
it's
action.
all good.
Yep.
It's all good. No, it's all good. No worries there. Now, on a weird note, Rick, this week, while we did do some pompano fishing, I had 2 trips where they wanted to get something to eat. So we did some trout and we did some pompano. We've got an influx of bluefish, which I'm really not even sure what's going on. These bluefish now are almost a 24/7, 365 type of fish around here. And they're all not big boys, but they're 2, 3, maybe 4 pounds. And they just seem to be happy living here now, which is kind of weird for us.
87-degree water?
Not a problem at all, Rick. I had a guy this week, and normally I wouldn't even think about keeping the bluefish, but he was from up north. You know what? They eat him up there. He wanted it, so we took it home.
I hope all those people stay up there. You're right,
Funny.
sir. You're right, sir. Forget this snook. This is the best eating fish here, right here. You just go right along back to New York City. We'll see you next year.
It's true, right? It's all true. It's all true.
Thanks so much, Cap. Please tell me we can check with you next week.
Absolutely, Rick. I'll talk to you next week, and I hope I got a great report for the offshore and nearshore guys.
I'll be ready. Captain Greg Stamper from Snook Stamp Charters. Now, let's pull on up north a little ways and check in with Captain Kevin Lanier. Kevin, how are you?
Hey, Captain Rick, we're doing just great today. How about yourself?
Good deal. Now, I understand that you've been out in the Northwest chasing silly fish like albacore and salmon and dopey stuff like that, but how's fishing been back home while you were gone?
Well, fishing's been slow. I mean, just to be real honest with you, all this rain we've gotten over the last couple of weeks has dumped a lot of fresh water into the Gulf, and a lot of the nearshore fisheries, redfish have shown up really well, but a lot of the kings and stuff have been pushed out. We actually had a kingfish tournament scheduled for this weekend, but due to the pending hurricane, we had to cancel that and wait for another time.
You know, those kingfish guys are getting awfully soft. I mean, come on now. The roughest I heard of today was 50 feet at 12 seconds. You can take a little. You can take a little 50, can't you?
Yeah, the World Cat can, but I can't.
Yeah, I understand that. Believe me, I do. I understand that. All right, Cap. Well, I don't know how much rain this thing's going to dump. It's probably going to be a mess over there for a week, isn't it?
I think so. I mean, Captain Rick, we're paying for all that heavy rain this last week, and you know we've dumped a lot of rain in Georgia, and all that comes down the Chattahoochee, dumps right in the Apalachicola, and hits us right head on. I will say one bright spot. One of my fellow captains was out late this past week and was throwing on some fads for some triple tail, and the water started erupting all over the place, and it was a school of probably a couple hundred bull red.
How about that? Now that's cool. That's cool. Yep. They you and I saw that in our boyhood, but we haven't seen it for a long time, have we?
Oh no, absolutely. You know, that is definitely a bright spot considering the way the fishing's been inshore here over the last couple of years. So it was exciting to hear that. They got a couple of slot keepers out of it, and had a great day. Oh,
good deal. That's outstanding. All right, well, let's keep those people in New Orleans in our prayers. By the time our podcast airs, that thing will have gone through, but the reconstruction will have just begun. So maybe we'll get a chance to get out there and help them. Thanks, Kevin. We appreciate it as always.
All right, we'll talk to you next week.
Take care. Our thanks to Kevin Lanier for a great report. Now we're going to head on out the Panhandle. I tell you, I'm not expecting a whole lot of a fishing report, but I sure want to make sure that our buddy Tyler Massey's okay. Tyler, are you with us?
Yep, we're here, Rick.
Good. You guys all batting down? Everything go okay?
Yeah, no, we're definitely seeing some of the outer bands of this hurricane. Got some wind and some storm surge and some rain and stuff, but we're definitely on the good, far enough away where it's not a really issue for us. our friends over to the west, though, they're taking a beating right now, it seems like.
Yeah, it sounds to me like this is, and of course, by the time our podcast airs, we'll know, but man, seems to me like this one has been a real brutal. It got awfully strong before it finally moved to shore.
Yep, it definitely amped up there at the end and right before landfall. I guess they said Category 4 hurricane.
Yeah.
That's we know about that kind of stuff being over in Florida too. So,
Sir, we do. Yes, sir, we do. But let's talk fishing. Tell me if you got any fishing in before it started getting nasty.
Yeah, so we've had some bad weather for a little while, but we did fish inshore a few days, and the fishing's really picking up for us inshore in the bay. We're kind of getting out of our summertime heat patterns, but we're catching redfish. Have been pretty good fishing around boat docks and bridges in Santa Rosa Sound and in the bay. So we did that for a couple of days. We just pitching live shrimp on a Carolina rig or just a jig head up underneath the boat dock. So we get pretty close to the dock. We pitch up underneath the dock and let it settle and kind of wait. So when we're fishing these docks for redfish, if you don't get a bite on the first couple of good casts into that dock, you might as well go to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
If they're there and they're biting, your bait's gonna hit the bottom, and then you're pretty much gonna be on. So
you're gonna know it soon enough.
Yep. Oh yeah, and that's what we look for when we fish these boat docks. So that's been really productive. Also, bycatch while we're doing that, we're catching mangrove snappers and flounder as well.
Everybody in the state saying the same thing. What a great year for mangrove snapper, and I for one am certainly glad to hear it. I tell you. But do you have any idea? I mean, I wonder what the long range effects. How long will a hurricane like this mess you up?
In the Gulf, it messes up a few things for us. We had storm surge and it's rough enough to where our bait gets messed up. So our bait leaves. We don't have in the Gulf our domestic garmintas and blue runners and redfin herrings, that kind of stuff. It all kind of gets pushed away. And then also, anything like king mackerel, Spanish mackerels, any of our, our surface pelagics are going to be, they're going to be gone for a little while too. Bottom fishing, as long as we don't have some crazy current out there, it'll straight back up as soon as it calms down enough to get out there. But, it definitely changes things up a little bit, makes you work a little harder to find bait and that kind of stuff. But, as far as the close range and bottom fishing, a couple days, you're good to go. The pelagics and that kind of stuff, maybe a week or so when everything calms back down.
Tyler, when I was learning a little bit about this game 100 years ago, I'd talk to the old timers and they said every time you get a real good blow, always start at your biggest spot. They always felt like that the fish actually took shelter, that they would get tight to a wreck down current, that they would get on the downside of a ledge and get down current from a big storm like that. You ever notice that? Do you do well on big spots immediately after a storm passes?
Yeah, so whenever we do get big storms and that come more our way and we get a lot of current, that kind of stuff, we do fish the big wrecks. And the one thing that I noticed that moves more than a lot of stuff is gag groupers.
Mm-hmm.
Gag groupers, I don't know if they're moving away from the storm and end up on the big wreck, or if they get in a current and they swim here. But if a big storm comes through the Gulf and from south to north, kind of coming up our way, we do see quite a few more gags on the bigger wrecks than we do before the storm. So, like you said, maybe they know something's coming. They get off the smaller stuff. They move. They find something big and hang out there, or maybe it just fires them up and they bite a little better afterwards. So I'm not really sure what it is, but we definitely see the gag groupers fight a little better after these storms.
I like it. We'll take it. However a good gag grouper bite comes to us, we'll take it. I just got done eating grouper cheeks for dinner. That ain't bad.
There you go.
All right, Cap, listen, we appreciate it. I'm so glad the storm didn't get any closer to you, and I hope you're back to normal fishing real soon.
Sounds good, Rick. We'll see y'all.
Thanks, Tyler. Captain Tyler Massey checking in from the Panhandle. Hey, that's going to wrap up our trip around the state tonight. But before we do that, let's get a word from our sponsor, D.O.A. Lures. I don't have to tell you it's hot. And, of course, the water is hot, 87 degrees, Greg Stamper told us today. And just like the fish always do, the biggest and the baddest of so many species we fish for will be holding in deeper water in an attempt to cool off. You name it. If it feeds deeper in the water column, it can't refuse the D.O.A. Terrorize. It dives straight down and crawls across the bottom with an action that no deep feeder can resist. Whether it's a crappie deep under some lily pads or a tarpon rooting around the bridge pilings, D.O.A. makes a size and color terrorize that they just can't say no to. Flashing that big bright eye in front of any bottom-feeding game fish is just unfair. Maybe that's why they call D.O.A. lures the unfair advantage. So, of course, the storm was on everybody's mind this week. It certainly changed things in the Gulf, but the mullet run has started. It started in northeast Florida. It has hit east central. Now, it's not down to Stewart's yet. It seems to be caught between about Matanzas and Sebastian is about where the leading edge of it is. I can tell you that in North Florida, it is game on. The surf is full of reds, and that's going to provide some fantastic fishing. I guess really John Earhart was telling me, and this was to my surprise, he didn't feel like this summer's sailfish bite was spectacular. I did. I guess we averaged 3 or 4 a day at least the days that I got to fish down in Stewart this year, and to me, that's good sail fishing. You get down around Alan Sherman's territory, and he said it was really pretty slow for them this week, except for mangrove snapper, some mutton snapper, and good numbers of cubera, especially juveniles. That's hope for the future. I don't know how long a cubera snapper lives, but I know if he gets to 100 pounds, he's been around a while. Now you switch over to the state, and Greg Stamper was really pretty surprised by how much the redfish are intermingling with his tarpon. Not all juveniles either, some big tarpon, but a lot of baits that they've thrown at tarpon have ended up attracting a redfish instead. That's unusual. You get up into the northwest corner, and I got to tell you now, our friend Kevin Lanier had a great report about how the redfish had schooled up and were busting all over the northwest section inshore. That's great news for them. They haven't had good inshore fishing all summer. Sounds like it may finally getting better. Tyler Massey's in one piece after the hurricane, said that their fishing looks like it's going to be okay. I think when they get back out, and this is a tip for you now because we got some big northeasters coming over the next few months. If you get back out after a big blow, go to your biggest structure first. That's where a lot of gag grouper will be hanging out. Hey, I've had a good time this week, and I sure hope you have too. This week and every week, the Florida Sportsman Action Spotter has been brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. By Shimano, bringing people and nature back together. By Tournament Master Chum, it's the best chum on earth. By Nosara Paradise Rentals, your dream billfish destination. By D.O.A. Lures, the unfair advantage. And by Young Boats. You want the finest in flat span offshore hybrids? You need to check out youngboats.com. All right, well, this week went by in a flash. Next week, we'll be back with another report post-hurricane and find out what's happened to the Gulf. Until next week, for the Florida Sportsman Action Spotter, I'm Captain Rick Riles, and we'll see you on the Rip.